Hey, Katrina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I am jumping the shark. I'm doing something totally different. I will have a finished project, as you saw from the picture at the beginning, but I am actually designing with you. I don't have a project in mind today because our theme over at Paper a la Mode is all about embellishments. Now, when that theme was set, of course, I was sort of thinking I would do something that had a lot of embellishing. But then I thought, no, let's make some embellishments. So, since Paper a la Mode is not about cards, it's about anything and everything except cards, greeting cards that is, I decided let's go with actually making embellishments. All right, here we go. I'm going to start designing these embellishments, half-heartedly start that in Cricut Design Space. Now, I have a few things up on my screen already that I thought might be fun for some of the embellishments that I might like to create. Now, I looked a little bit around Pinterest and I thought about the books that I use for creating my journal books, and I thought about the sorts of embellishments that I would actually use in my books or on scrapbooking pages or possibly greeting cards for a different challenge, of course. So I started out with just some shapes, and in case you're not sure where those are in Cricut Design Space, if you come over here to this left-hand column and you left-click, shapes will come up, and you'll see that you'll have several different shapes here. So I did pull a few shapes from this. I pulled this little tag that sort of looks like a ticket, and then I also chose this heart. Now, we can manipulate these by making them bigger or smaller or changing the width versus length. You can do with them whatever you like. So I think I'm going to make this just a smidge bigger, about there. All right. So I think these are ready. I'm ready just to go ahead and print those. Well, not print them. I'm ready to cut them because they are just cuts. That's all they are. Now, these tags all came from Art Philosophy. And I thought these are all very interesting tags or shapes that I could use for embellishments. So I'm going to leave this one kind of small. But you know what? I like this, but I don't love that tree. I just don't know that I need that tree. I like the tree, don't get me wrong, but I don't know that I would use that in my books. Okay, all I need to do is come over here to this right-hand panel, left click on the contour, and see here where it says hide all contours. I can click that if I choose, and then come back and add the hole. And that's what I get right here. I get the tag without the tree, but just the hole. Now, I could have also just clicked on the tree to hide that. That's another option. So let's go ahead and do that. Now the key, I like the key. I want to keep that because I can see myself using that in one of my journals. However, I really think that I might like some tags behind it that are the same size. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to size this up to about 3.5 inches maybe. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, say duplicate. I'm going to go to that tag, and again, I'm going to hide the contour. And I'm just going to click that key right there. I could have clicked it here also. Oh, there's another one. I want that one gone too. And there I have just the regular tag. Now this, I can make a different color. I'm going to make all these a different color actually. And it can go whoops, I want to take this and move it to the back. There we go. Now this can sit right in on top of that, like so. This piece I thought might be fun just on a square piece or a rectangle piece, and I'll show you more of that later. However, I don't think I want it quite that big. I'm going to size it down to about 1.5 by, well, let's go to 1 and size it up actually. Let's go to about 1.25 this way. Okay, so 1.23 will be fine. Now, I like this little camera, so let's go ahead and we're just going to print him the way he is. Again, we're not going to print him. We're going to just cut it. These are all basic cuts. This is a little bread tie. That's kind of fun. We'll use that. This I want to change. This I'm going to use as a tab. And I'm going to take care of these contours here. I'm going to take those out. So that's gone. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to bring this over. I'm going to flip it on the vertical. And I'm going to line them up on the right hand side. So I'm going to come up here to this align, left click. I can align right or left. I'll go left. Now I'm going to bring in a little shape. Just bring in a square. I'm just going to bring it in, make it a little smaller here. There we go. I'm going to center that, and I can come up and hit align, center horizontally, and now I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to click combine and weld. That will give me the option now to fold this. So, you know what, let's just put a fold line in too. We might as well, right? So we come over here to shapes and we just pick a score line, bring it over. I'd like to rotate it 90. So I'm doing this on my keyboard. I just typed the 9. Now I come down and click that. Set it right in over this. This is a little long. So we'll just shorten her up a little bit. There we go. And now we'll say attach. Now this will put a score line in right here, and that will tell us exactly where to fold that. All right, I would like, just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and right click and I'm going to duplicate that. Let's bring it over. Let's just make this one a little smaller, maybe just for fun. Let's duplicate this heart. Let's duplicate it. Maybe 3 times. Let's duplicate this square. And let's duplicate that again. Okay. These are just pretty generic, so I might want several prints of that. This tag, I might like some extra ones, but you know what, let's do some different sizes. Let's do this size. Let's duplicate now, and let's do one about this size. And let's come in and do one more. Let's do a small one. That'll be cute, won't it? Kind of a small one. Let's make this one just a smidge smaller. Let's do this one a little smaller. That might get pretty big on our page. Okay, let's go ahead and let's just make this a little bit smaller. Let's take this one, make it about that size. And you know, that's pretty generic too. Let's duplicate that again. I don't know that we'll use all these, but we can, you know, we can put them aside. You know what? This is kind of a fun shape to play with. Let's make it a little bit wider. Let's do that. That's kind of fun, isn't it? A little more like a square. This one, maybe we'll go about I think I already played with this one, but let's go to about 2 inches. Okay, now let me show you something else we can do. I'm going to cut all of this out of the same color, and I'm going to do all of the coloring of this with inks. So I can just take this and come over to Color Sync. I can take everything and just move it. So I take this and I can just move it underneath there. I can take this and again just move it right under there. It changed everything. Isn't that fun? I'll show you again while we do this camera. I only have one piece, but I'm just going to click the brown square and move it underneath this white square or cream square. And now we're going to do all of this in one swoop. I'm going to take this color and move it. I'm just using my mouse. I'm just moving. There we go. Just move it underneath this color. And now everything is that color. I am not going to cut the word shapes. Okay, you saw where all this came from, right? Shapes. Close to my heart, art booking. This comes back over here. Close to my heart, art philosophy. Okay, so we know where all this comes from. All right, so let's get rid of all of this. I'm going to delete this. Delete the shapes. Word. Delete. Going to delete to this word. And I'll delete this. You know who I am. Actually, that's going to be a print and cut, so that's not going to show up anyway. So now I'm going to go to Make It for any material. I'm going to hit Confirm. Again, we don't need that, so we're going to go straight to this. And there we are. Now, I could save a tiny bit of paper by moving this right up here. And moving this right in here. Okay, you can play with this forever and ever and a day. And sometimes I do. I like to play with it a lot and see just how much paper I can save. So as you can see, I've knocked it out here so that I can actually save a piece of 6 by, let's see, 4, maybe 6 by 3, 3 by 6 piece here. So that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So let's go ahead and hit continue. I'll load my mat and we're going to cut all of these pieces. I'm going to cut it out of 80-pound medium, and I'm going to grab a piece of 12 by 12 off white, and then I'll meet you over at the craft table. Okay, here we are at the craft table, and here is my sheet of tags and embellishments. And as you can see, I did a second sheet with some different sizes. I promise you we're not going to make all of these. I'm going to start out by using some vintage photo and just sort of color these up a little bit. I'm going to run some of them through embossing folders and do a little more inking on them in different colors. I did some in that vintage photo, some in a teal blue, and some in yellow. Now I'm bringing in some champagne colored ink, or flaxen actually, and going over and adding some other designs. I'm adding a little bit of this typescript, and I added the hearts on the other one. All right, I'm inking up this little strip, and we are starting the first embellishment. We're going to go ahead and just glue this onto the heart, and I promise I'm going to get back into frame here in just a minute. I'm cutting off the edge of that strip that was hanging over. I've placed a broken flower. As you can see, some of the petals didn't work. I just pulled this out of an envelope of discards because I knew that part of that was going to go under and that was going to get cut away. So actually, it's going over on top. I'm putting it on, and now I'm cutting away that extra bit. And now I have gone over the sides with my Pip pen, you can see there, and also put a little scribbling around, glued my button on, and I'm adding some gems. Number 1, done. On to number 2. I'm taking some ink around the edges because when I folded it over, it didn't quite meet up. So that's okay. I'll just put some dark brown there with my Pitt pen and that'll take care of that. I've cut a piece of denim to fit on there and I have frayed it and then just cut off those little bits of threads. You wouldn't have to if you didn't want to. If you like those little bits of threads, you should leave them on there. Now I'm going to cut it to the correct width and I'm going to glue it into place along that tab, the underneath side of the tab. Now, on the top of the tab, I'm going to put this little brown flower that I've colored up with my pen. And again, I just pulled that from some scraps. I've pulled an old Prima flower. And now I'm bringing in a piece that says Explore, and it's on vellum. Now, here's a little something I didn't know. You can put vellum on with fabric tack. And for me, I'm just going to say for me, this worked. It did not show. The glue did not show through. So that was a cool thing to find out. Because see, I just put that little strip on there and glued that down and it worked out just fine. Now I'm going to take a little bit there and put a little bit of burlap on top of there. And I'm putting the little flower. I'm not sure where that flower came from. It might be Prima. I went around it with a little bit of blue. Now I've attached that little scrap of brown flower. And I'm going to come in with a button that I have tied up there with a little bit of leftover burlap. Time to move on to number 3, and that's our little time tag. As you can see, I went over that embossing, and now I've punched a hole with my crocodile. I'm pulling out a rather large eyelet, and they're from We Are Memory Keepers, I believe it said there. And I am going to use my crocodile and just set that in place. Now, I didn't want that white on there, so I came in with my Pitt pen and just scribbled over that. Wiped it with a dry baby wipe, and it has sort of a rustic look to it there. I kind of like it. I'm going to take another strip of just scrap paper that was laying on my craft table. I guess that's the advantage to not cleaning up very well, huh? And I'm tearing away part of that strip. I'm going to use my fabric tack and glue it into place. And you'll be able to see that here in just a second. Now I'm going to bring in an old Prima flower, a couple of old ones I've had in my stash for a while. I'm putting those in with some fabric tack. This is a little bit of lace that I had left over from something, and I'm just tucking it in underneath that flower. And you're going to see me pull my paper piercing tool to sort of get that in exactly where I like it. I use my piercing tool for everything. I love that tool. I'm putting in a button that has a little bit of twine strung in. And now I'm going to take some seam binding lace, okay, with some really thin rickrack. I'm going to string it through, hold it in place with a clothespin, and you're going to see that because I was having a lot of trouble keeping that straight. Then I come in with that little bit of twine that was left over, and I go ahead and tie a knot. Now this was a button, and I removed the shank off that button, and I just put that in with a little bit of the fabric tack, and now we're moving on to 4. Again, I'm going to ink up this flower, and this is from the same batch of flowers that I cut for a project once that I didn't use them all. I sponged over just to give it a little bit of texture and then went over the tips. And now I'm sort of laying it out. Again, I'm sorry I got off screen. I've been kind of in a hurry lately and I need to slow down and think about what I'm doing a little better. Anyway, I'm going to lay this flower down and rub over it with paper and look at the interesting texture that it gives that. You'll see it here in a minute. I'm going to punch a hole with my crocodile and go in now with a brad and put it in that way. And there's a trick for you. If you have trouble getting those open, just stick a pair of tweezers down in there and you can get it open that way. Now I'm going to take this. This was cut for another project and I didn't use it. Almost everything I'm using here are scraps. Number 5. Okay, we're moving on to the yellow heart. I've just cut some brown, it's sort of a burlappy sort of ribbon. It has a really fun texture to it, along with just a tiny piece of denim there. Punched a hole with my crocodile, and I'm just cleaning out that hole just a little bit since I punched through all that fabric. I'm bringing back those really big, thick eyelets, and I'm going to stick that through. I'm sticking, I'll call it the washer because that's what you call it when you are out working on farm machinery. So, all right, again, I colored it up a little bit, dried it with a dry baby wipe. I'm sticking a paper clip through, and when I stuck it through, I included that fun length of little rhinestones there. I can't believe we're ready for number 6, and it's really easy. I'm going to take this K from the sticker sheet, and I'm going to color up this with a little more brown. There was a little bit of a white on the top of that K, I think because the stickers are pretty old. I just kind of cleaned that up with my black Copic. I'm going to take a piece of leather here. It's a very small piece, and I'm going to use my crocodile and punch a hole, and then I'm just going to come in with a brad, and guess what? We're done. All right, I'm going to start talking about 7. I'm using a tag here from an old pair of jeans that says Wrangler. Let's talk about an easy one. I cut it. I'm leaving the ripped part of it on top just for a little added texture. Fabric glue, stick it on, and we're done. Won't that be fun in a journal though? Lots of fun, so easy. Starting number 8 with these journaling note cards from Prima, and they've been in my stash forever. I can't even remember when I got these. I'm going to get a square here, and I'm going to rip these edges to create that square to put in the middle of this so I can retain some of my outer edge so we can see the work we did on that. I'm going to put it in as an angle, and then this says Fine Special Edition, and what they're talking about on here I think is journalism or newspaper, but I'm using it to talk about this horse that came off this sticker sheet. He's a Fine Special Edition. I'm cutting a piece of denim, and I'm going to stick that under there. Bring in some more of that lace that we had out before, and I'm not going to do anything special, just sort of lay it underneath there. Now I noticed that there was a piece of just thread laying on my desk, and it was blue, and I thought, oh, that would be fun. Let's throw a little bit of thread under there. And when I started talking about the thread, you probably saw the little gem come out. That's going to be going on the top of that. It is a metal gem. So that being a sticker, it's holding that thread right into place on the back, so I don't have to worry about it going anywhere. So it's really easy. I just put a little fabric tack on there and glue it all down, and we're ready to roll. And on to number 9. Bringing out the floral stamp again. It has some writing on it. I like the stamp a lot. It makes for a really nice background. Now, when you don't have time to go clean your stamp, a lot of times I'll do this. I'll lay a baby wipe down, and my baby wipes are a little dry, so I just spray a little water on my stamp, spray the baby wipe, lay it down, and then I can go clean it later. Moving on, I'm going around the edges of this tag with some blue, and I'm bringing in a little bit of you know those things that come at the top of your cardstock? Well, that's what that piece of yellow was. This is how I store my leftover digis. I have one of those little photo books, and I just keep them in there. I am covering this little cowgirl with some big embossing ink and bringing in a very dark blue powder. Now, I apologize. I am gonna heat emboss this, and you can't even see it happening, and that's one of my favorite things to watch. So you'll get to see it later on in the video with another piece, I promise, if you're like me and you really enjoy watching that. So next we bring in a little bit of raffia ribbon, and I'm just looping it through, sort of like, you know, sales tags, and spreading it out a little bit, and then I'll just clip it. You'll see there I sort of ripped it as I was trying to spread it out, but it doesn't matter, it looks fine. Now, that little piece right there with the yellow flowers, I think they're called tear strips, in case I didn't think of that before. If you know what the name of those are, leave them in the comments below, because it'll probably drive me crazy until somebody tells me. Okay, I'm going to adhere that little flower with some fabric tack, put on my little cowgirl, place a stamp block over her to hold her on there, and there she is, all shiny and cute. Number 10, we're going to just take a tag, we're going to color it up with some Close to My Heart ink, and then bring in this Distress ink, and we're just going to sponge it over, and you'll notice it gives it a really cool texture when you do that. Then I'm bringing in this cardstock that I printed out years ago, and it just has different horses on it, different genders of horses. And I'm just tearing a square. I'm going to come in and darken that up just a little bit, and that will go in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and place an eyelet with my crocodile, like I did on so many others that we've done today. This time, however, I'm going to color it with a black Copic marker. I'll glue in this little square, put my little horsey cut there. He's kind of sort of rearing up there playing, isn't he? We're hoping he's playing and not trying to throw a rider. I'm going to go ahead and bring a jump ring in from jewelry making. I'm going to place this little charm on here. I don't know if this was an earring. I'm not sure what this was. I think it may have been an earring that I lost the other one. So I thought, hey, let's just use it as a charm on here. That'll be cute. So I'm going ahead and closing that up, adding a little bit of twine to the top of the extra jewelry piece that I added on, and we're done. Our last tag is a clipboard type tag. I'm taking that little decorative piece that you probably wondered, what is she going to do with that when we were cutting it? I'm going to heat emboss this. You saw me do this before. Now you get to see it actually do its thing. I just think that's fascinating. One of those crafty science things that's fun to watch. All right, I'm going to take that. I'm just using my piercing tool this time like a pencil and marking where I want to cut this little board piece that was left over from a card earlier we did. All right, so I'm just sort of scruffing it up, adding a little more ink, and now I'm going to glue it into the center and then add the little clip part for the clipboard. And we're not going to really use it as a clipboard because it's just sort of decorative. I'm adding a little bit of washi tape to the back just to cover those, the arms of the brads, just to keep it from ripping anything up. I just wanted to give you a brief demo of how these tabs work. You just basically open them up, put them over a page, and then you can adhere them with glue or paper clips or staples. Here's a quick overview of the 11 pieces that we made. Hey, I am so happy that you joined me today. This was a long video, so if you stuck with me this long, you're pretty brave, and I really appreciate your time. I had a lot of fun making these embellishments out of embellishments, and I look forward to using them in my journal. And if you check back in some of my future videos, you might see them again as they make their way into my journals. In the description box below, you will find time references to each different piece that we did today. So if there is one that you particularly liked and you'd like to go back and see again, look down there below and you can find exactly where to find that, so you won't have to go through the entire video looking for it. I will also leave in the box below most of what I use to create these pieces. I won't guarantee it's all there because a lot of it were scraps, a lot of it's really old, some of it doesn't. I don't have names on the packages anymore, even if they're in packages, they're just laying in tubs or some other container. So, but I'll do my best. I'll do my best. And if you do have a question about something, please ask, because I will do my best to find it for you if you need something and cannot find it. I know also this was a whirlwind video. I sped through this fast because I wanted to get 11 different pieces in this video, and I didn't want the video to go over 30 minutes. And it didn't. I barely made it, but we did make it under 30 minutes. So any questions, leave them below for me, and I promise I'll do my best to help you out, or I'll make another video on that particular question. Hey, have a wonderful week, and I'll catch up with you the next video. Bye.